Hey there, Wrangler wrenchers. Let me show you my analog brake system or ABS control module right here and ABS manifold, which is right here. And you wonder, why am I showing you these things? Well, a few months ago on my dash, I got the ABS light, the car with the squiggly lines light, and the red brake light when like the parking brake is on. And Googling, of course, the ABS light and the squiggly car light are common for wheel speed sensor problems on these Wranglers. And having problems on the sensors, braking sensors, is pretty common. But the red brake light is not as common, and I couldn't really find a lot of references for that. There were a couple, and it vaguely mentioned the ABS control module versus just replacing a wheel speed sensor. So I wanted to explain a little bit about how I diagnosed my problem and got to the point where I found it was the ABS control module that I had to replace, and then kind of a brief overview on how to replace it. With the ABS light and the squiggly car light, the first thing I did was assume that the red brake light was tied to the parking brake, which is in the rear wheels. And so if the wheel speed sensors weren't working, then maybe the computer was confused about what the parking brake was doing. So I thought I would replace one of the wheel speed sensors in the rear. They're only $11. See if that resolved the problem. And by the way, these lights would come on pretty much right when I started the vehicle. Sometimes it would be after I started rolling, but most often it was right when I started the vehicle. And then sometimes they would just go away, and it would be even days or even a week or so of no lights, and then it would come back. So I took out one of the left rear wheel speed sensor, cleaned it up, put it back in, still had the problem, replaced it with a new one, still had the problem, moved the new one over to the right side. The problem actually went away for a few weeks, so I thought I had fixed it, and then the problem came back. So that ruled out the wheel speed sensors. So then I took the Jeep over to an auto shop that would read the ABS codes for me, because it's not a standard code reader that can read those codes. And unfortunately, the ABS code reader confirmed what I had to suspect myself, that it was actually the ABS control module that needed to be replaced. And that's about a $300 part. And you can really only get, you really only want a Mopar factory part, and the reason for that is that they're VIN matched. So you have to make sure you get the right part for your VIN, because there's different part numbers depending on the setup of your Wrangler. But then you also have to take it to the dealer and get it flashed to match your VIN. So part was about 300 bucks, and then I still have to take it over to the dealer and get it flashed. So that's how I got to realizing I needed to replace it. And I'll put a link in the description of the part I actually used. So here's how you actually replace it. And I'm just going to show you a quick overview. There's a 10mm bolt right here that holds the entire control module and manifold assembly into the vehicle. But there are also two grommets, posts and grommets, that are holding this into the tray on the bottom. And you can see one of them right here. And you can pull all you want, but at least me and my strength, I was not able to pull this up without some help. So if you like bleeding brakes, it's a lot easier to do this job if you disconnect all the brake lines and then just take this assembly out and work on it. But if you don't like bleeding brakes, you can actually pull this up and move it out of the way. And what I used is this small pry bar, and there's one grommet and post right in the middle of the assembly, and so I can put my pry bar down here and lift up. But then the only way I was able to get this post and grommet up down here is by putting the pry bar underneath the actual nut, which is down there. And that nut is part of the post, which is part of the manifold assembly. So put your pry bar between the nut and the rubber grommet and pry it up, and then it'll pop up. It'll feel like a lot of force, and it is, but it'll be able to take it, don't worry. And of course, don't forget to unhook the electrical connector first. And honestly, before you do any of this, you should disconnect the negative terminal on the battery There's a lot of electric that goes through this connector. But I've done that, so then you just squeeze at the bottom. See if I can do this one-handed. Squeeze at the bottom, rotate this up, and that pulls the connector apart, and then you can just back it off, and it comes off like that. Another thing that's useful is getting this harness free so you can move it out of the way. And if you don't have one of these connector pullers, I highly recommend them. They're really cheap from just Harbor Freight or something like that, but wedge it underneath, boom, pops it out. Pop it out, and now this big harness is able to get out of your way. Once you pop it up out of the tray, there's enough flex in the brake lines to where you can pop it up, prop it up on top of the tray, and you can see down underneath the two grommets that those posts are connected to when you put it back in. So these are T20 fasteners. They're not held in very tightly, so don't over torque them when you put them back in. But ideally, get a tool like this small screwdriver that's T20 on the end, and that will make it super easy for you to just get these in and out and not spend a lot of time. Unfortunately, I don't have that, so I had to construct my own T20 contraption that I manually used, and you can see that it doesn't go in straight, so it was a bit of a challenge for me. I spent a lot of time getting these out and putting them back in, especially the one down here, because it's really more challenging to get your hand in. I ended up going down this way underneath to get it. All of this because I didn't want to take the brake lines off and put it on a workbench. But if you are patient, it's really pretty simple. It is just 4 fasteners. And once you get the 4 screws out, you just pull the control module, just pull it straight out. There's nothing else holding it. So this is my old control module, and it's got part numbers. So you want to make sure that all the part numbers match on the new piece that you bought. The colors inside all line up and match. This is what the old one looks like, and you can see there's just one electrical connector that goes in and mates with the manifold to make all of this work. There's no brake fluid on this side of the interface. You don't have to worry about any fluid leaking out when you do this. The part should also come with 12 new rubber grommet, rubber gaskets, and those go on the manifold. When you pull this apart, you'll see on the aluminum manifold, these gaskets are pushed up against the solenoids. You just need a small flathead screwdriver to gently pull them out, and they're the same on both sides, so it doesn't matter which side you have facing up against the manifold. You put it in and push it up against there, you're good to go. And then the new part also comes with 4 new fasteners. So put it all back together, give it a good snug fit, and that's it. It's pretty straightforward to replace, just an expensive part that requires to make sure you get exactly the right part, and then you have to take it to the dealer. But once the dealer's done, I should say once you do the replacement, you're going to have the ABS light, the squiggly car light, and the check engine light, and that'll be there till the dealer does the VIN flashing part, and then all your lights will go away and you'll be in good shape. Hope this video is helpful. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comments. Happy to take questions. Talk to you next time.